unexpected NBA teams that almost became champions. Back in April of 2023, the Miami Heat were not exactly looking like a team that was about to make history, because they had just finished the regular season with a pretty average record and actually had to fight just to even make the playoffs at all. So instead of being one of the top teams, they ended up in the play-in tournament, which is basically where the teams that barely missed the playoffs get one last chance to sneak in, and the Heat even lost their first play-in game at home to Atlanta, which meant their entire season was on the line in a do-or-die matchup against Chicago. But what happened next is honestly one of the wildest playoff runs you will ever hear about. You see, Miami managed to survive that game against Chicago, and they only just barely made it into the playoffs as the 8th seed, which meant they had to face the Milwaukee Bucks, who had the best record in the entire league and were led by Giannis, one of the most dominant players in the world. So pretty much everyone thought Miami would get crushed, especially since they lost Tyler Herro, one of their best scorers, to a broken hand in the very first game. But Jimmy Butler had other plans, and he started going absolutely insane, scoring 40 or even 50 points in some games, and somehow the Heat pulled off one of the biggest upsets ever by knocking out the Bucks in just 5 games. But the craziest part is that Miami was just getting started. The thing is, after shocking everyone by beating the Bucks, the Heat moved on to play the New York Knicks. And even though the Knicks were hungry and had a really tough defense, Miami just kept finding ways to win, as guys like Bam Adebayo and even undrafted players like Gabe Vincent and Caleb Martin started stepping up in huge moments. And while a lot of teams would have run out of steam by this point, Miami actually got stronger, and they beat the Knicks in 6 games, which meant they were suddenly just 4 wins away from the NBA Finals. But what happened in the next series against Boston is what really made this run legendary. As it turns out, the Heat were now up against the Boston Celtics, who were the 2nd seed and had just made the finals the year before, so everyone thought Miami's luck would finally run out. But Miami came out swinging and somehow went up 3-0, which almost never happens, and they were just 1 win away from the finals. Then, in a total twist, Boston came all the way back to tie the series at 3-3, and it looked like Miami might blow their chance, especially after losing Game 6 at the buzzer. But what Miami did in Game 7 is something that fans will never forget. What I mean is that Miami went into Boston, where the Celtics almost never lose Game 7s, and instead of folding under the pressure, Jimmy Butler and Caleb Martin played out of their minds, and the Heat absolutely crushed Boston on their own court, which sent Miami to the NBA Finals as the first play-in team to ever make it that far. And even though they were huge underdogs against the Denver Nuggets, Miami still managed to win a game on the road in the finals. But in the end, Denver was just too strong, and Miami's incredible run finally came to an